Morning, guys. Everything new under the sun. Here's from debka.com, military intelligence source. Breaking news: Hamas has fired up to 400 rockets into Israel, and they're calling for more rockets as well. And so Israel went in and did a massive strike on Gaza and the leadership headquarters. After 200 rockets, this article is a little bit older. The latest updated figure is 400. Hamas warns Israel of worse to come in the event of broad Israeli reprisals, and that's exactly what Israel did. Broad reprisals. They knocked out a whole apartment building. Apparently, that was a Hamas installation. After taking several barrages of 200 rockets Monday, Israelis living less than 40 kilometers from the Gaza border were told to stay in fortified places until further notice, as Hamas threatened to expand its rocket targets if Israeli airstrikes hit large areas in the Gaza Strip in retaliation. So this is heating up. I mean, I don't know what you call this. This is I would suggest this is an all-out war, except that there's no ground forces going back and forth. They're just firing rockets at each other. Rocket alerts were accordingly heard Monday evening in more distant parts of southern Israel, including the Dead Sea region and Mount Hebron. Residents up to towns up to 40 kilometers from Gaza, including Beersheba, Lachish, and Kiryat Gath, were advised to stay within easy access to shelters and to basically listen to their rocket app that Israel made to warn people of incoming rockets. Israeli Air Force went into action after Palestinian rockets hit 3 towns and injuring 17 Israelis, most of them lightly, on Monday afternoon. So this is a situation. A whole bunch of rockets were fired. And here is the question of the response again from Debka. Will Israel do what it takes to degrade Hamas after 400 rockets? This is from today, November 13th. Israel's deterrent strength is on the line after Palestinian Hamas fired more than 400 rockets. So the deterrent is the hard hitting by Israel on Hamas on Gaza, and if that hard hitting isn't creating enough deterrent, it means they basically have to go in harder, go hit harder, in such a fashion that, they're hit so hard that it's kind of like the bully. If you hit back at the bully hard enough, he will think twice about bothering you again. And that's exactly what Gaza and Hamas is. They are the bully. Israel's going in there trying to only do what they need to do, but they have to hit back harder at this point to give them a strong enough deterrent. So let's see what it says here. After their massive barrage, Hamas and its terrorist allies threatened to expand their targets beyond the south if Israeli Air Force on missions in Gaza Monday night goes beyond its routine tit-for-tat reprisals. So they're not going to escalate it if Israel does their routine strikes. But if they go beyond their routine strikes, Hamas will hit back, which is absolutely ridiculous. Hamas just wants tit-for-tat because it plays into their game of just annoying Israel, really goading Israel on to do a larger strike, and if they do a larger strike, then maybe they can call in some of their Arab friends to back them up and go against Israel. And it really plays into the Palestinians, into Hamas's game book to do these things and to keep this war going, because politically they get advantages at the UN and etc. And then they're still able to call Israel the intruder, the marauder, the invasion people, etc., the invaders. It says, an escalation of violence is therefore unavoidable in the next hours. So this is ongoing. This is current news. It's up to the IDF to switch its tactics to attacks that cause Palestinian terrorists real pain, so to hit them where it hurts, to provide a significant deterrent, basically. Monday night, the IDF dropped small rockets on Hamas Al-Aqsa TV channel, and they've done that before, so they must keep rebuilding, in Gaza City as a warning of a coming bombardment. The building was evacuated before it was demolished. Israel generally goes in there and says, look, we're going to bomb this, so get out if you want to stay alive. Which, what other country in the world warns enemy citizens, or not enemy citizens, but citizens, because the citizens aren't Israel's enemy. It's Hamas that is Israel's enemy. But what other country in the world of an enemy nation or group of people warns them of incoming fire, but Israel does it. You won't hear that in the mainstream media. Israeli jets and drones went on to strike more buildings in Gaza and Rafah, still within the usual norms, while Hamas confined its rocket launches to the south, although an anti-tank missile on an Israeli bus in the afternoon occurred minutes after 50 soldiers debarked from the bus, I guess, and could have caused a massacre. One of the soldiers was critically hurt. Benjamin Netanyahu and his security military chiefs are convinced that if the Air Force starts seriously attacking Hamas missile stores and residents of their leaders, then the rockets will start exploding in Tel Aviv. So they know there's Hamas at least has some ability to strike back and to hurt Israel, where it would be significant, and of course, in the big city of Tel Aviv. At the end of top-level security assessment of the Gaza crisis led by the Prime Minister Monday, it was announced that the operational decisions had been reached and the Security Cabinet would resume the discussion on Tuesday, today. Debka files military sources deduced from this comment that no final decision had yet been reached in terms of wider strikes. It is hard to believe that they are still hesitating after hundreds of thousands of civilians were hammered by 400 missiles confined to small shelters with their children, and 50 soldiers escaped harm by a hair. You got to think they're biding their time, and if they are going to go to battle against Iran and Russia and Syria, they need to deal with the small, thorn in their flesh from Gaza, which isn't existential necessarily, but certainly one that they would have to contend with if they started battling on the northern fronts with Russia, Syria, Iran. So they would have to take out Gaza first, completely, well enough that they weren't causing a problem, and that their military wasn't then split between Hamas, on the Gaza front and the northern border. So that's what Israel's thinking of. When do we time this strike to take them out so that we can focus on the northern front and our enemies there, or do we just go tit for tat for the next while until we really have to take them out? For a successful large-scale military operation of its kind, two things are essential: firm resolve to achieve clearly defined target, and concentration of a sufficiency of armed military strength ready to go. So this is an ongoing situation, but the final result is situation is untenable. It can only be altered if the IDF changes its tactics. It basically goes in hard and really deals with it. If Israel is ready for a real showdown with Hamas on those lines, it has a good chance of winning the current round with the Palestinian terrorists. I don't think they would have any chance of losing that round, honestly. Regaining its deterrence and achieving a lengthy period of calm for the battered population of the South. That's what Debka military intelligence sources write. And I believe that Israel will decide to do that when they decide to finally do the last strike on Syria, which I believe to be Isaiah 17. I believe Isaiah 17 is the last all-out strike, kind of Israel's last thing that they can do, that they think they can do in order to take the head off the snake in Syria, and that then triggers what we see in Ezekiel 38 and 39 with Gog and Magog, the alliance of nations, Iran, Turkey, Russia, and allied nations, Libya, etc., coming against them. So these are all escalations heading towards that. And these will be tit-for-tat strikes until that time is determined, until God's timing is determined. I'll leave it there, guys. I'll put the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.